I am here again for, I don't know, it might be a record number of weeks in a row. If not, we'll hit it certainly soon enough. Welcome to Gem Collectors with Shawn. I am Shawn, and I am trying to wind my engine up for you and get through the show because I am missing the Raven. Yep, she has been down on the count and has been missed throughout the entire GSN for the entire week. And I may find that by the time this show is over with, that her daughter, who I had to call back over with her boyfriend to take care of her because I couldn't cover all the hours in time, she may have to put her in the hospital. So thoughts and prayers. And just as one quick side note, without going into too much detail, but you know, there's something ingrained, I think, in men, whether you ladies believe it or not, that is a chivalrous side, and that when we fail, it can be quite, I don't know, harming to psyche, ego, whatever it may be. But she hasn't been real coherent, and she got off the bed last night, maybe too quickly. She had too many things in her hand, and she was doing something she wasn't supposed to, and that was leaving the comfort of where I had her fixed up. So I went to get the items out of her arms. In the meantime, in my arms were a number of items, and seldom ever are in those arms, are they not mineral specimens? I mean, you know, so I was doing inventory for this show and whatnot and had a number of those. So all of a sudden I see her on her heels, losing her balance, going backwards. And I literally dropped everything, which included a thing of blueberries, which on champagne carpet, and many squished blueberries, but it didn't matter. I dropped everything, and I did everything I could to try to reach her in time. And I had to watch her hit the credenza, which you've heard me talk about, our credenza, which is across from the bed, where I have everything, well, I don't know, literally maybe 300 specimens, I don't know. And, you know, like I told Osif, I said, by way of specimens in our house, some are above and beyond a normal specimen without sounding snooty, and can be quite nice. Maybe a little dusty, but quite nice. She hits the credenza, and at the same time then, it caused the big screen TV to start falling forward. I'd already not been able to reach her in time, but before it hit her, I grabbed the TV. In the meantime, right in front of the TV, maybe you've seen it before, I have that Thunder Bay, Ontario hematite amethyst piece. It's gorgeous, but if it falls down from there and hits you, you're going to be imprinted with a whole lot of amethyst points on you. Well, I caught the TV, I cut my arm with a crystal, lots of stuff went everywhere. I'm screaming for her daughter to come down, and the boyfriend, he has to take it off of me. And she says, oh, I didn't hurt myself. I screamed to Summer saying, Summer, yes, she did. She couldn't have helped but to hurt herself. And so I was angry, actually, and then, of course, I felt like a total failure, like I should have gotten her in time. And even though there was no possible way, it brought tears every time I think about it, that you know, I failed her, that I am there to protect her. And, you know, I saw her going backwards, and I just couldn't do it, couldn't. And so before I get to my sensitive side again, we'll stop there. This morning, she didn't even realize it, but when she looks in the mirror, she's going to realize that she is waking up to what's going to be the only black eye I have ever seen on her for any reason, and I'm talking about really bad. It is so perfect that I told Osif that this is an instance where I would not dare go in public with her for knowing that I'm going to be found guilty of abuse before I would be found innocent and anyone believing my story of, well, she hit the mineral cabinet and then, yeah, sure she did. And so I know that things can happen. It couldn't have been a more perfect if it would have been a punch in the eye. And that's exactly what it looks like. And oh my gosh, I feel so terrible because she doesn't even realize what she's done to herself there. And got to put some papaya on that or whatever they say. Meat's too expensive. So, but luckily it didn't get into swelling and closing her eye up, at least not yet. And oh, you know what she said? Yeah. Classic, the Raven style. She goes, it'll be better by tomorrow. No, it'll be worse by tomorrow. And it was already almost black and blue. And, it's when they're yellowish and whatnot, when they get even worse. So, yeah, anyway, it was a tragic evening and then difficult morning. And so I'm here. And forgive me if I'm not all together. And that's certainly the way I feel mentally. But I have disappointed enough people. And I just did not want to disappoint all of you. And so here I am. I went through a lot of work to get this inventory done. You're going to enjoy it. These are all, everything you see in so many of these shows now, as far as the nicer pieces, are all coming from our personal collection. And like I said, don't feel bad about buying it. Just help me out because I do need to sell some of it. And we're getting into all kinds of neat items that you are going to enjoy. All right, let's get through the comments so we can get on to the goods. All right, so we had a lot of winners on the trivia, so I made it too easy. May not be as easy next time. All right, so Harry from last week, he goes on to say, on a somber note, referring to, of course, Memorial Day, he wanted to extend our gratitude for the sacrifice, and also not just the sacrifice of the men and women that serve, but also he realizes all the military groups protecting our freedoms, of which my family has had a major role several times. Thank you. And not only the military groups, but the families. The families, my poor son's wife, I think they have moved at least 8 times. I mean, I could count them, but I'd have to think of all the different places. And it's just nonstop. And they decided to buy one home in South Florida. So their first home lasted 1 year. He was at the Southern Command before he was transferred out. And, such is the military life. So I agree with you, Harry, on a lot of thanks goes out to the military, not only the people that serve actively, but those that, families that they have to have that support system. And they suffer as much in many times in that veteran being off, oftentimes for long deployments before they get to see him back. Well, hey, Professor, and the amazing Raven and the rest of the gang. Wow, I've been so busy I forgot about watching or even checking it was up on YouTube. My bad. Anyway, hats off to Brad for his win on the trivia and for his low carat weight. He called it really close. But that was not expected to see the actual whole stone after the foil was removed. Great job. So even being a week late, I was able to score the fossil heart-shaped box. I can't believe that. See, that's why if y'all think, oh, that's got to be sold, don't always assume or presume that an item that you would think would be a popular hot item would get sold. I can't believe that the heart box was still available a week later. So you know why this happens? It's because it was meant for the person that wound up with it. And it was Harry in this case. So listen to this. And this is why it was still available. Because it's going to be going out to New York, his daughter, to store her amazing Imperial topaz ring in after he felt lines it, of course. So he has got a whole plan for it. I also got both Spencerteen cab parcels. What? How could all of you, which those were so inexpensive, leave those available and no one bought them already, or at least one of the parcels? Here is the great reasoning you should have, no matter what. My magnets are lonely and need someone to play with. Exactly. If nothing else, so you can practice your use of magnets for determining or just having fun. And you know what? It's not just loose stones like that. You can put them to and feel the pull pressure on stones that are in matrix. And if you want a lot of fun, take your neodymium magnet and run it through a creek. You'd be amazed at what you'll find. And the magnet will do all the work. Well, I am grateful Shawn made it through the show, and I hope whatever reason he was feeling questionable is not going to hurt his health. Well, today it's something else, but in most cases, it's just still battling long COVID. Long haulers just really can be quite debilitating. As far as the trivia, woohoo! I love Garnet info, and the magnetic chart will sure be a useful tool in the future. Thanks for that. So, question 1, what makes Spencerteen so darn magnetically attractive? This is iron is what he put, but it is the true fact of the matter. Manganese is what I had stated, but Barbara corrected and said, well, manganese isn't magnetic. No, manganese proper isn't magnetic. But then Barbara always pushes it, and because she does, you get to learn so much more, like exactly where to go look for the diamonds in the North America or the United States only active diamond deposit. And so remember, I'm not going to tell you. You got to go back to that show and watch. But remember, it is not a kimberlite, is what she had pointed out. So she made me get into the whole other type of diamondiferous deposit, which is a lamprite deposit, and the 4 different types of them. But anyway, so in this case, it is the valence of manganese, which is 2+. That particular valence of manganese is magnetic, whereas manganese, just straight manganese, isn't. And that is interesting, and that's what I love chemistry. But to understand all these little things and the electrons spinning around and all, yeah, it takes a little thinking. Garnet group with that calcium of which you gave us the types in the group is eugrandites. And question 3, pyrospite is the group of 3 aluminum, almandine, pyrope, and Spencerteen. Well, hopefully we'll get this in time. Which you didn't. I just had to finish it up this morning before heading off to go to church, and then back and keep working on cutting 2 rose quartz stones and a big clear quartz and a black sapphire star cab. And this one should go well. The show at the Havey tourmaline mine went really well. I did business with a client whom chased me down to get more of my cut gems and wants to pay me cutting fees for cutting her 5 stones. And that's always a great way to make money, is to do something you love doing, and it's cutting stones. He sent me some additional pictures, which I'm not able to show you here, but he's cutting a lavender chalcedony, and he rose quartz, and really doing some beautiful, beautiful work. Which reminds me, I'm going to show you the next step on the Hessinite, which I have set aside for Elisa. But Elisa, I have my Primo Hessinite rough, that one that you saw, and I am working on another one, which I have pictures of, so I'll show you in a moment. Okay, so, well, anyway, I'm ready to tear into the day. Until then, may the Lord bless you. Harry, thank you, sir. Hi, Shawn. Harry again. I'm trying to find out if a star is going to appear. Is it on either end of a sided crystal? I did not notice the shimmer on either end, so am I to assume it will not be a star? Also, it curiously had natural shiny crystal sides like a dark smoky quartz, but on a scratch test, it is showing up as a sapphire. Any other suggestions? I meant to bring in, and I actually was going to offer it for sale, but I'll bring it in to show everybody that I have a black sapphire this large, and in some of those sapphire packages, which I think Mr. Anthony bought one of them, there is the opportunity to do some seriously cutting into some stones to find black and darker gray stones to find if they are a star. Okay, if you can determine the hexagonal crystal and you can see which end of the C-axis, which is going to be the long axis on a crystal like that, if you can pinpoint the ends and if you wet them or put a little bit of oil on them and look for some type of reflection or chatoyancy back, that's when you would want to just you don't have to polish it, but just cut a little bit of a dome on one end of the crystal. If it's going to star and the crystal is symmetrical and not too long, then yeah, it should carry that star usually from one end to the other. Not always. So what you want to do is put a light dome on both ends to see if there's any chance of the star appearing. Now, there is not, due to the crystal structure of the way it works, there is not going to be a star that appears on the A or B axes of the crystal. In other words, they're not going to be on the side. It's not going to appear on the side. It's not going to even be a cat's eye on the side if you try to work the crystal that way. It will be only show up on the ends, and that's where you want to start and finish if it does not appear after putting a little bit of a dome on one of the ends. Actually, you can go and buy a lot of the crystals. They only polish the ends just because it makes for the ones that star. They don't go ahead and cut the whole stars because on the crystal, if they just polish one end and it stars, it looks kind of neat, kind of cool. So you see that. All right. So I'll bring in some of those other stones and show you some examples and what to look for. Miss Gabby, I always like to hear from her. Hello, everyone. Thanks for yet another fun, informative, and awesome show. Got the pineapple calcite. Wow, that's great because you know what? At the level of collecting that you do, that piece had so little external damage, which is really rare because calcites have perfect three-way cleavage planes, so they basically split really easily and chip also because the hardness of 3 is going to do that anyway. And all of those crystals are just skin poking perfect. There, let me say that right, because they're that sharp. Was wondering if it fluoresced, and you addressed that a little later in the show, making it even better. Also got the Rhodochrosite earrings just this week. This is the magic. Just this week, I've been shopping for a pair of pink earrings. No particular stone, just the color. These are perfect. The universe / Shawn came through once again. Also got the small amethyst geode for one of my grandsons who has gotten more into rocks lately. You know, that makes my heart sing. Trivia. Okay, so remember the trivia questions. What was the alternate other name for sphene? The answer being titanite. And then name 3 of the mentioned countries or places that I had said rhodochrosite comes from. Answer being Colorado, Argentina, and South Africa. Sending love and healing thoughts. Thank you, Miss Gabby. I need them. Yeah, badly. A lot of A lot of negativity been coming my way. And I'm trying to fend it off with positive thoughts. As also genuinely, of course, and I learned and I know these things, but they're so hard to do sometimes. But he mentioned again that you bring to yourself what you draw to yourself, and so yeah, it's so hard to be positive when there's so many negative things about you. But that's what we're supposed to do, and try to stay that way. So I need to be grounded a little bit more. So I got to step on some more Mother Earth. Miss Peggy, hello from hot South Carolina. Summer. You know what? You're our neighbor. You're on the same latitude as we are, and we know how hot it is and how hot this week is going to be. Dear Raven, Shawn, crew, and admirers, I wish I could write every week, but today I've got to tell you that moving my minerals to the back bedroom was a good idea. With new lights and the collection all together, it's really beautiful. I love the trivia, but last week's questions was a stumper. I got it right, however. See? It wasn't that much of a stumper. You just doubted your own self when you knew the answers. They were there, and I'm so proud of you. I cannot image being able to get that close to a bat. I think I would love to hug it. Yeah, they are really cute, and you can only do it in the winter, and of course we don't touch them or anything like that. There's a bad fungus, white nose fungus, going around amongst the bats, so you don't want to ever do anything to transfer that from one colony to another, which basically colonies often will stay together in particular cave systems, underneath bridges, wherever they decide to gather. But that would be the colony, and it can spread, from one group to another. It's killing off a lot of our bats, so we got to be careful. But yeah, I'll bring, if we can find the pictures, they are stunning because literally the girls, it's right smack next to them, but I had already told them that it's not going to go anywhere, and if they do come off the walls, just to stand still, because they know where they're going. It's the humans that are out of their element, back in the mines and caves, but they're cute. The bats, when you see them flying, your mind takes you to the big, giant fruit bats from Indiana Jones, but nothing like that. These bats, whole wingspan and everything, may not be more than about that far out. But when they're clinging on the wall, they blend in so well that until you really know what you're looking for, you can walk right past one, and one will be tucked right up into a little crevice or a rock, and you just almost can't even see them. It's a pretty neat experience. And in the wintertime, when they hibernate, they'll develop a dew at the very tips of their, they're mammals, remember, so of their fur, hair, and that I have taken pictures back when you could just take pictures with 35 millimeter real pictures, and they were amazing with the little dew shimmering on them. And yep. Okay, so tell Raven I also can't not laugh when my hubby acts the fool. Wow, if I would have done what happened to her last night, as far as falling backwards, crashing against the thing, everything falling, hurting myself that badly, and she laughed, I would be upset at that, because, until that person could be really hurt, and there'd be no room for laughter. And I think in that instance, I don't think she would have laughed. But I think if her grandmother fell in a creek, knowing that she wasn't going to get swept down or drowned or anything, I think she would laugh. Tripping over a speed bump, getting out of the, I think she'll laugh at it. But going through what she may change her mind about laughing altogether after last night. And I love the free things also. I have quite a few. However, I am jealous of Barbara. Wow. Trivia. Sphene equals Tantalite. 3 locations for Rhodochrosite. Argentina, Sweet Home, Colorado, South Africa. Please add some Fogarites for sale. I see them behind you. I need something different for my new amazing collection. Find your joy. They're there. If I remember to show them to you, you'll have a shot at them. Miss Cindy, hello Rock family. Very enjoyable show today, Shawn. I have a Withlacoochee River agatized coral specimen that is awesome and big, 8 by 10 inches. Guess where I got it from? From you as a trivia prize. It is awesome. Thank you again. I gave you an 8 by 10 inch agate for a trivia prize. You were feeling lucky that day. Answers were all correct, except, and I had to take a few points off for your answer because you say, for the 3 places of Rhodochrosite, you have Argentina right, you have Colorado right, even though there's, of course, a couple places in Colorado, but of course the one we mean is Sweet Home. So just Colorado would have covered it altogether because they now have the new mine above it that they're mining out of and finding very similar type of crystals as well. I almost wish that it would have ended with them, of course, closing up and sealing up the Sweet Home mine, and then that would have been it. I wish almost that they wouldn't have found additional ones. I don't know. It just would keep them as the special item that they are and were. But instead of South Africa, you say Africa. Miss Cindy, Africa is an awfully big place. That's like saying an emerald comes from South America. Well, of course, we already know that emeralds can come from several locations and countries in South America, Brazil and Colombia being 2 of them, or amethyst, which comes from many countries in South America, kind of thing. So when we look for a specific place, you can't say the whole continent. There's only one. That might be a trivia question. I don't want you looking it up ahead of time, so I'm not going to tell you. So anyway, a trivia question just came to mind. We'll see if I use it or not. I'm just going to go ahead and say it. Okay, there's only one country that you could say the whole continent, and you'd be correct. And a question or answer would be, what continent acts and is its own country? There's only one of them. That would be Australia. Yep, Australia, its own continent, its own country. Other than that, when you say Africa, it's like when I see opal, and when someone just puts up African opal. Well, Africa's an awfully big place, and you know, opal does come from other places, and unless you're specific, you have the Tanzanian cat's eye opal, you know, so you have the Ethiopian opal, and there's even the greenish opal coming out from Tanzania as well. So best to be specific, and South Africa. Okay, Harry says, oh man, I missed out on Memorial Day show, and I had written some thanks to the military. I got all the answers to one of my favorite garnets. So hello, Shawn, the ravenous, famous Raven, and all the GS teams and all the happy people. Okay, good homework on the foil back diamond cleave chip, Brad. I heard your weight you called out, and I just knew something was a bit off with this one. And get covered on the back with a foil of aluminum. Well, I thought the unveiling would have a point on the bottom, as Shawn was calling it on the backs being not proper pavilion angles, but had no clue there would be not a zilch pavilion shape at all, which to me means one thing. This stone must have been just a cleave and some metal on the flat back to sell it. Wow, sneaky, sneaky things people do. Yeah, even going back 300 years. Hence, Mr. Brad, foiled again. Good call. I thought you would come in last, being so light a weight, but 0.08. Wow. Right. Take the chip to a HVT diamond grower and sell this crystal. I bet they pay a pretty penny for good seed crystals, and they do respond to 100% pure carbon, as a diamond is, only in a crucible. Well, here's the thing, actually, on those methods, and you can either create a diamond through HPHT, high pressure, high temperature, or you can grow them from evaporation or vaporization as far as vapor deposits. So without getting too technical. So what they will do is when they have a batch of diamonds, they actually set aside a percentage of them to use as seed crystals for the next batch. So they don't need seed crystals. Like at the beginning of making diamonds, they will use a percentage of their own seed crystals that they've grown for the next batch. Okay, we'll enjoy the little diamond. Cool. Shawn, you seem winded. I just hope everything's good to go. I love the comment on one of the coral specimens. There was a druzy pocket, round and deep, and reminded me of the cavity left by none other than the whimsical botfly. LOL. OMG, I swear it looked just like what a picture I saw of the pocket in a person's skin left from one hatching out. It is a horrible, horrible hole it will leave in your body that you'll have a souvenir for pretty much the rest of your life when you get one of these things in, and that's how you have to let them go through their cycle to be able to get them out safely without causing sepsis or other things if you tend to burst them. And I'm talking about, botflies are big. I mean, they're like upwards of half an inch across, you know, a quarter inch would be a narrow one, and and with all that, I have the answers to the 14 questions. Alternative name of Sween, Titanite. Question 2, getting, all 3 of those answers right. Well done. Anyway, my show up at Havey Terminaling Mine went really well. Return client made the trip there to meet me with more gems. Humbling, yes. I sell very good quality stones, and she also brought 2 large rose quartz stones to facet for her, and a big black sapphire crystal. I also cut a large snowflake design on the quartz crystal and was just busy. Forgot to get the trivia in the email on time, and I know I got all the trivia right on garnets. One of my faves. Well, good night, happy people. The Lord, may he bless you richly. Every one of you out there, and Shawn and Raven as well as the GSN team. Blessings from Harry. Mr. Anthony in Massachusetts, keeping his eyes down. Hello all, hallelujah. He found the bubble. Yes, finally. I was so hoping that you would tell me that this week, Mr. Anthony. So remember, he got the ametrine sphere, and he couldn't find the bubble because my arrows got wiped out off in shipping. But I think that's all the better. Why should I make it easy for you? Because you know it's there, and really the fun is the search, It really is. Found the bubble. That's a tricky little anhydro, but it's my first. So what do I know? Boy, it does take patience and persistence. But as you said, it is fun once you get into it and you get really lost. For your information, Sharpies will rub off on glass and any smooth polished surface. Yes, they will. And that's why I use them. I just didn't expect it to rub off by the movement of the packaging. Sphene, also known as Titanite, Rhodochrosite locations mentioned during the show: Colorado, Sweet Home Mine, Argentina, and believe you said South Africa. I remember the beautiful gem you cut from the Sweet Home material. I also remember thinking I wish I had a Brinks truck when you said it was for sale. Yes, do you remember that? It was stunning stone. I still have pictures of it, and really it was the largest one I've ever cut. I think it was over 12 carats. And like I said, it was had beautiful, beautiful dichroic nature to it. In other words, in one direction it was orange, in another direction it was hot pink, another direction it was more red. It was really, really a stunning and a custom cut of my own design. And I hit all the angles just right, in my opinion. And yes, it was not inexpensive, but compared to what they were selling for in something that size, it was about $1,000 a carat. I sold it for it, which is, it should have been twice that much. And probably right now, could easily command that. Miss Penny says, we haven't heard from her, Miss Penny and her wonderful son, Mahalis. Hello, Shawn, Raven, GSN crew, and Rock family. Hope everyone is well. It's nice to see you again, Shawn, and you do look better than last week. Makes me wonder when you say that what I actually really look like last week's. Needless to say, I haven't finished the show yet, but I will. Kudos to Miss Barber for her win. There's definitely some trivia envy for the ametrine she won. Yes, Miss Barber got an ametrine end cut from one of the crystals, which is pretty cool. That aquamarine specimen is breathtaking. The Brazilian pink tourmaline isn't far behind. That's all I have seen so far. As for my wish list, all of the 15 items or so on it, only one was available. Since the shipping and insurance were almost 3 times as much as the specimen, I had to turn it down. I'll try again at a later date. I know, but the shipping situation is way better than it was as far as pricing of things, but still, some items, depending on the size and the weight, can get expensive. Since it's extremely late, it actually isn't as expensive as you think. It's just that my item, what I sell it for, is so far below what it would normally sell for. It makes, relative to the cost of the item, it does make the shipping sound a lot more expensive. Now, if I was really charging you what these items would be selling for in a regular environment, a regular retail environment, the shipping, if it all stayed the same, wouldn't sound too bad, would it? So you have to remember that you're saving money on my end, and just look at it as a whole. Since it's extremely late, I'm starting to doze off. I will sign off now and hope to see you next week. Have a wonderful week. Penny and Mahalis. Miss Ursula says, Shawn, hello, and what another fantastic podcast you've put together for us today. Wow, you certainly got my attention when you featured the beautiful smoky quartz crystal microcline specimen from the Mid-O-Moat Mountain region of New Hampshire. I was wondering if someone was going to mention that. Thanks for bringing back all those beautiful memories while traveling through North Conway more than a decade ago. New Hampshire to me, and going up Mount Washington, which is really the coldest place in the continental United States. And when we went up there, it was in the fall, but at the top of Mount Washington, we were lucky that the road was still open up there. It was the first time I had seen what they call Rhimes ice. And it is ice like that would be on like the wire rope guides and other particular thinner items. And it's when moisture or rain freezes, but the wind on the top of Mount Washington is howling always at a huge, very fast pace. And so the wind will cause the ice to literally grow sideways. So picture this, instead of an icicle going with gravity straight down, turn the icicle up on its side, and that's Rhimes ice. Icicles growing out sideways, and it's the first time I've ever seen that, and it was really, really fascinating. And boy, you could be down at the base, and it'd be a decent temperature at the top. Cold, cold, cold. And they have a meteorological station up there, and still always do operate it. And you can always go and actually look up what the temperature is at the top of Mount Washington. So I really enjoyed that experience as well. Sphene, known as Tantalite, Rhodochrosite, Argentina, Colorado, South Africa, thank you again for all you've done for us, and please stay cool and out of the oppressive heat. I'll have to, because as heat intolerant as I've gotten since I've gotten COVID, yeah, no way. Miss Elisa, she says, hello, Professor Shawn, the lovely Raven, GSN crew, and the Rock family. Thank you for another great show, everyone. Shout out to Dave for his killer camera work on the Bisalite. Close up. Shawn, thanks for saying what you did. But I agree with that, what someone else said a few weeks ago, that I win every week just by watching your show. To me, your show is the prize, and answering the trivia question just adds to the testimony of how much information you teach. Thank you. Speaking of which, my answers to this week's questions are Titanite, Argentina, South Africa, and Sweet Home. I hope everyone has a great week. Oh, I guess you just mean, I was reading win every week. I don't think you've won in a while, Miss Elisa, but, and that's the whole idea. The whole idea is to quiz you enough to make you want to retain what you hear, and bait you to retain that by a cool trivia present. Hi, Professor Raven, GSN crew, and the whole Rock family. This is Miss Barbara. Wow, it's Wednesday lunchtime and the lovely Ametrine prize was on my doorstep after a 9:15 in the morning Tuesday podcast drop. That was amazingly fast. You know, Andy was just in here, who's manager of shipping, and he will never take the compliment. He always passes it off on his people that actually do the work. And, you know, rightfully so. They're the one that did the work and get the credit. So I told him to make sure then, if he didn't want to take any of the credit, to pass on the credit because, boy, some of the items that get to you guys, scolicites and whatnot, on the condition that he does, he's got a great team. Grabbed the gorgeous, but you know, to get a freebie like that, normally freebies take weeks. That was quick. Grab the gorgeous Pakistani aqua specimen curated by the Raven. That was your best yet and could grace the pages of the Mineral Record magazine. Sorry, Raven. Now I can use my others as March birthday presents. Very sweet. Yeah, that was a stunning aqua. I was curious as to see who was going to get that particular piece. And well done to you, Miss Barbara, because that one was a holdover from Raven's private collection that she has enjoyed and kept. And she was whining like, oh, that's my best aqua that I have. You're selling. No, it wasn't. She's got one that's about, I don't know, 4 or 5 inches long, about an inch across, gorgeous color. But no, that one was the, so anyway, but she also likes them to go to good families, so that's cool. Thanks for the MN+2 magnetism info. Love cool facts. Glad I asked. Absolutely. The difference a couple little extra electrons make, huh? You talked about Bisalite with epidote and sphene. Isn't it also the horsetail inclusion in Russian demantoid garnet that makes it so valuable? Is it? It's close to it. But fact of the matter is, even though Bisalite is part and related to the tremolite family, which gets into the asbestos family, the actual per GIA and their fancy equipment that they use, the actual inclusions in those horsetails is chrysotile, which is basically what they call white asbestos. So I just happened to bring a specimen of true white asbestos mined right up in North Carolina. So I'm going to show you that in a little bit, and you're going to learn even more. But Bisalite, it could be, but it's not quite as, well, it's not quite, well, I'll have to show you. Better to use the actual specimen to speak what I don't seem to be doing very well. As to the trivia, Titanite is the other name for sphene. 3 rhodochrosite locations were Argentina, opaque pink. and bacon fat. Yep, you're right, for the different forms that it is found in. Gorgeous stuff. Sweet Home Mine, and now Detroit City level. That's the mine that they discovered above the entrance to the, where they found more rhodochrosite, above the entrance to the closed Sweet Home Mine. Colorado Pink to Reddish Rhombs, and then the Schwanning Mine in South Africa for red dogtooth crystals. And it's something, if you actually saw the crystals from each place, which of course Argentina really is more of a sedimentary type of deposit for rhodochrosite than it is a crystalline deposit. The South African deposit, those crystals, but you hold two side by side and you can, anybody, instantly pick out the difference because of the color difference. Personally, I am a Sweet Home guy for that particular color. If you've never seen a South African rhodochrosite, you need to look it up and look up a picture of it because they are stunning for color, but they look more like the Padre Pariso rhodonites with a deeper red, if that tells you anything. Okay, so thanks for a nice, long, high-energy show. A fine way to spend a summer Tuesday with a tall, cold, sweet tea. Be well, all. You're supposed to say be well, y'all. You're talking to us down south now. We don't understand what that means. Be well, all. Right over there. Miss Barbara from Brooklyn. Okay, so we have the winner this week. And they were like, oh, you got it right. So let the chips fall where they may. This week's lucky winner is Miss Elisa. Miss Elisa, who thinks they win every week, but you don't. But you did this week. Let's show you what you won. And you have won something really cool because it's my birthstone. Oh yeah. So that's what was it George that said, or who said that they were going to start doing the trivia again when they saw me bringing out the garnets and the other good stuff. Anyway, there is a story to this particular three pieces. Okay, you see the weight, 7.74. Well, I'm not sure. That should be pretty closely accurate, but that used to be the weight of one crystal. Now, somehow, I do not know how, but in the process, this crystal became three pieces of it. 7-carat crystal is one of the largest individual crystals you would find in a little cluster or in a single piece like that. So it was a special crystal. Your job, though, is to look and enjoy the individual ones. Look at that. Look at these. These are beautiful, but it all went together somehow, and of course, I could sit there for a long time playing with it, trying to do it, and which I was, and then I realized, Shawn, you've got so much more to do. Whoever wins this, it's going to be their challenge. If I were you, I'd use a micro amount of epoxy, and while you're watching TV and have a little time to kill, what you want to do is take these three pieces and see if you can figure out how they went back together. And this is your mission if you decide to accept it. If you don't, then you have a three individual pieces of some beautiful, beautiful Japanese rainbow iridescent garnet from a mine that is no longer open or available to be collected from. But I think if you put it actually together, it would be make for a better look, and you'd be the only one to know that it wasn't a single crystal. At least that's the history on this particular piece as it is. Look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. And wow, to end up with a 7-carat one, if you can, with only three pieces, figure out the cipher to get it to fit back together. Good on you. Okay, let's put those up and we'll start the show. Okay, this isn't for sale, but you might think it would be. And if it was, I would say, Miss Gabby, already bought it. But truth of the matter is, this is almost could say the picture of the one we sold. And when you see something like this matching up so much to that porcupine calcite piece that I featured last week, and then you see something like this in a mineralogical database as representative of a crystal for calcite crystal formation from the Santa Eulalia mine, then you know you have the exact location pegged for the piece that you're selling. Now, that's if you don't know. Now, the piece I sold already had a known provenance to be from there. But when I was just doing some research and scrolled upon this picture, I thought, wow, I have to show that. I meant to show it last week along with when I was showing the piece, because it even has selenite crystals on the calcites, just like the one that Miss Gabby bought last week. So congratulations, and that's in Mindat, Miss Gabby, if you want to look that picture up and compare it to yours. It's amazing how exacting that is. Okay, now let me show you something for Miss Elisa. This is an axonite that I'm working on now. It's sitting right on the middle of the knob to my fasting machine for references, and just because it held it well, because it's triangle shaped. Now, this is a preform I am doing of it, and you can see that, and you may, if you end up with this, may want to keep these pictures because you'll get to see the stages of how I have created the piece. Now, the piece of rough literally spoke to me. I had no idea what shape or what I wanted to do with it, but once I started cutting on it, like I've always said, the stone will tell you what it wants to become. So this is another axonite. It's another nice large axonite. I'm going to show you the pear shape because I have taken it to a different stage, so you might be curious about that. Here is the back side. Now this is what's called a preform, so I'll actually hand hold that, hand cut in those faces, and what it does, it greatly speeds up the time it takes after it's dopped up on the lap, because if you can apply the pressure with your fingers against the lap, you have no chance of it being broken off the dop. Once you have it dopped up, that's on the little metallic holder, then you cannot apply as much pressure pushing down on the piece to cut as aggressively as you may want to, getting to your preformed shape. Now, what you might be interested in is whatever happened to my picture. Oh, that was me. That was me not knowing how to use my camera. There we go. So now let me go to the, I have it on photo. Well, there we go.
I'm going to come to you until you figure it out.
Yeah, that's fine. So you get the general idea. I'm going to leave the rest of those pictures that were unshown for your imagination, because there's some great dichroic colors in it. All right, give me a moment. I'll be right back with the next item. All right, one of the finest items you're ever going to see coming out of our collection. I am offering, I think many years ago, I offered one or two other of the Ray mine specimens that I have, gem silica specimens. Now, technically, gem silica is chalcedony that is colored blue or green or a combination of those two due to copper ions bleeding out from chrysocolla coloring the chalcedony. It's one of the most, it is the most expensive chalcedony that there is, and called gem silica. Now, doesn't mean that every piece that you find is technically a gem silica piece, which is, of course, chalcedony. I see many pieces called gem silica when they're actually technically not a chalcedony. Therefore, I'm not actually calling this a gem silica specimen, but in a way, it is actually quite more unique. And let me show you all the reasons why. What we have is this very, very attractive. These are quartz crystals, beautiful blue and green, true quartz crystals. You can see ones like this that aren't the blue-green color. So when you see the blue-green, it's very distinct and definite. Look at the chrysocolla. You can see the chrysocolla coming around this piece. Look at this malachite. As we come in on the malachite, look at that. You can see it's of the fibrous variety of crystallization. Here you have some of the more pure chrysocolla versus some of the botryoidal lighter color chrysocollas. This specimen has everything you want going for it. Look at the cuprite. That is cuprite. Part of what is contributing, of course, to the copper. You can see the chrysocolla all through this. Now, as we tilt it up here, look at this. Look at this wonderful, wonderful formation of malachite in itself, right there by itself. Then, let's look around this. All that you have, this is basically like a geode. Look at this. Look at the chrysocolla. You have beautiful quartz crystals. Quartz crystals. And look at it. You can see the clear quartz, and then you have the very, very attractive and desirable, rare, and valuable green and blue quartz. Now, most of the quartz that you will see that has a blue-green color coming out of the ray mine, a lot of it is on a layer of chrysocolla. And the color that you're actually seeing which is mostly small druzy quartz crystals, much smaller crystals than what you're seeing here. So what you're seeing often in those crystals, the quartz is clear. It is only the color of the chrysocolla behind them that is giving them that color. That is not the case here. These crystals are genuinely blue-green in color. You can see the ones that don't have the blue and green color. They are obviously the regular standard clear white quartz that you see. Look at the openings in this. This is such an unusual and unique piece, and why we have hung on to it. But it's time. It's time to share it and pass it along. Look at that. Look at these formations in here. Look at that. Is that a malachite that I haven't spotted on the inside back in there? Oh, look at Dave taking us back in there. That is a malachite to the inside, because my finger's outside behind it and we're not seeing my finger. I had not actually spotted that malachite before. So that's a really extra bonus. And it looks like you're just, there we go, that's the bigger shot. Look at that. Look at the size of that. That is a big specimen for the ray mine. And you can see it is in a geode type of formation. In other words, you can see the outer rind to it. Here's the other neat thing is it displays both sides. It sits on its own, and you know how much I like that. Look at that. It displays at a perfect angle. It needs no stand. Now, let me show you one more aspect that is important, and what you look for to prove that there is not a coloration to this piece that is giving the quartz that color and giving that color falsely. And I don't know, we can just pick anywhere, somewhere like this. When you can see the quartz here, here we go. And that's exactly right. All right, I am lighting this up from behind, and you can see that there is, if there was a layer of chrysocolla coloring it, that there would be wouldn't be the passing of light through the piece itself. It would stop at the chrysocolla. you can see the natural color coming right through, thank you, sir, of the blue and green. And this represents pretty much everything. Let's go right here to like this spot right here. You can see right here the blue and green colors through. Oh, I love, look at the crystal color. Straight through into it. Here we go. Here's another area. The blue and green colors with no layers causing it to be of that color. I used magnification when I was looking at this, and I just spent all kinds of time enjoying this. This is a specimen that can be enjoyed over and over and over again. And it has many other minerals. I only listed 4: malachite, cuprite, quartz, and chrysocolla. But I bet there's additional copper minerals as well. But it has 4 of the great ones that you would want. I have this, the prices, of course, on specimens like this from the Ray Mine are not for the faint of heart, but I made this one affordable. And by that, I mean, it's only $177. Only $177, which is a outstanding value for a, look at that, for a specimen that is seldom ever offered from collections or even seen. And this particular style, it's not one of the stalactite ones covered in little druzy. This is individual quartz crystals that are a true blue-green, all on their own, without them getting the color from a base layer of chrysocolla, which is most often the case, and how quartz often looks blue, unless it is the true chalcedony that has been picked up the colors from the copper in the chrysocolla. Then it's true gem silica. Technically, I could call, because the quartz is, of course, silica, it's just not a chalcedony, but it could be technically still listed as a gem silica, because it is a copper, it is a quartz-infused color due to copper ions from chrysocolla. But I just put it as I did because that's the way I roll. Okay, let me show you. I have a lot to do in a little bit of time. Other than that, I could spend a lot more time on that specimen, but I have a lot of other things to get to. 106-5422. 106-5422. I've got lots of goodies for you today, and this is another one of them. Let me show this to you. Wow, I had set this piece aside for my old age, so to speak, because I was going to carve it. And so out of all the other pieces that you have seen me have of the emerald crystals and whatnot, this one lent itself best to carving. And if you have watched my show long enough and the live show, you will know that for a period of time we had tremendous carvings of all kinds coming out of using these type emeralds from Bahia, lizards and little frogs and all kinds of neat, unique carvings in emeralds. Let me show you why I found this one so desirable. It was and is the color. The color. So first, we have the mica schist on the back, which is just an outside rind. You can see it's very thin, but it does cause light not to pass through. So let me use this light to show you really the kind of color we're talking about. Look at that. Look at that. And look at the penetration of the light, how deep it goes into the emerald, which tells you just how translucent the emerald is. Look at that. Look at how far that light passes down into the crystal. And wow, it is a real classic emerald color. Thank you, sir. So this one, using, wow, look at that. Look, I just could go. Okay, so most carvers will leave that schist there. You don't need to remove it unless you're doing a three-dimensional carving and you want to carve into the emerald on the back. But, you know, again, as you're working on it, the piece will start talking to you. You can do a cut a base on it, do a stand-up, do one laying down, all kinds of options. Look, you can see the crystalline nature to it. So, emerald can be a very expensive stone, and is a very expensive stone. So to be able to get a piece that large that is affordable to carve is something quite rare, because I am only asking, you're gonna love it, $58 for that. $58 to have an emerald that size. I mean, the number of fun cabs you could carve out of it alone would be extensive. And wow. Okay, next I have, here's another good one. This is 106-5122. 106-5122. This piece, haven't offered anything like this in a while. Did have some a number of years ago. Look at that. That is quartz crystals. Why is it green? Because there is so much chlorite in the piece that it is green. But it is basically green with quartz silica all holding it together. Look at that. Look at that. And there you go. You can see the quartz where the areas, as we turn this, look at that. It's not just on the surface. It actually penetrates in some of these all the way through. And it has many different display angles. Look at that. And that is a classic color for the chlorite. When we think of chlorite inclusion, we often think of this color, this green. I think of it because I know of this quartz. Other than that, you know, you can think about like moss agate, which has green, but in a kind of a dendritic type of formation that gives it a more of a moss effect. This can just form as part of the same cluster. This is one of the most unusual clusters I've seen too, because of all the directions that it forms in. It was kind of hard to figure out. Look at that, that lays nicely on its own. You can see these large individual crystals right there where they're actually flat. So this piece, very unique. If you collect quartz, it's one you must have. There's a really nice display angle right there to it. And for the price of, you're gonna love this because it's only $38. $38. A lot of bang for the buck on that one for the money. And it's also very unique in a collector's cabinet. Okay, now let me show you. I have something really, really, really rare and unique for those of you that want something that not your average collector is going to have. This is item number 106. Let me make sure I can read that. 1065222. If that comes up what it's supposed to be. Yes, it is. Check this out. Wow. There is, believe it or not, it may be a monochromatic look, black and white, but you are talking about tantalite. Tantalite in that big crystal, which is one of the nicest shaped tantalites. Tantalites, by way of just the crystals themselves, can come from a lot of different places, but so many times the crystal form is non-existent, or it's massive, or there's not a shine or brilliance to the crystal at all. Look at that. Look at how shiny that is. It was actually, they kept saying in the Midnet record that it was very difficult to photograph some of the Tantalites because the way it reflected light back, it was just a really high reflective rate. Look at that. Look at that. Then, look at all these very, very unique crystals of albite. Now, they say albite, it also looks like Clevelandite to me. It's a feldspar, but I'll go with albite because a lot of the other options that people were finding the Tantalites, they listed it as albite, and there weren't any Clevelandite. So to me, by way of those thin formations, it kind of looked like Clevelandite. But I'll go with albite. Now let me show you this. Look at this. Look at the clarity to this quartz crystal that it's sitting on. Didn't even notice that, did you? Look at that. I checked it because, you know, it could potentially be topaz, but due to the cleavage and testing it, it turned out to be quartz. But it is a really, really clear piece of quartz. And then there's additional quartz here as well. But the Tantalite, okay, what is Tantalite? What makes it so unique and special? Well, in this case, Tantalite is a sought after mineral for the elements that it holds within it. Now, Tantalite forms part of what they call a columbite series. So there can be additional other elements that are found with it. And that gets kind of too technical. We won't get into that, but Tantalite can be used with this, but many Tantalites are actually columbites. So they're very, very closely related and not anything you need to get involved with in trying to figure out what's what. But Tantalite in general is has magnesium and iron, but here are the two desired ones, tantalum and niobium. Tantalum and niobium. To give you an idea, niobium, I have some niobium. It is used, my solder pick that I use for platinum. It's a very high temperature metal. It can take a high temperature, so I can pick up platinum pieces without worrying about melting it into the platinum with some of these other picks that can't take the higher temperatures. So that is my direct the only direct use I have with niobium. But otherwise, tantalum and niobium are used for a lot of different industrial purposes due to their sought after abilities by way of temperature and other desirable aspects to those particular rare elements. This is a huge tantalite crystal. The black on white is a beautifully aesthetic look to it. And you can see it was just cut out of a bigger, massive piece of the feldspar. Price on this, there was nothing I could even find to compare to it by way of quality. So I know this price is a great opportunity for someone who wants to collect a rare mineral. Only $148 on that. Only $148. That is a huge cabinet quality specimen and size to that piece. All right, now let me show you another item. This one I want to show you last week, 1026321. 1026321. We were talking about corals that were in the Rock and Gem magazine. Well, there was another one that Raven had pointed out right afterwards, and I said, oh yeah, that would have been a good one. Look at this. Look at this coral. This coral, telling you, how many times have you been to the beach and not seen something, even in bigger rocks, that looks so similar to this formation? This doesn't have the coarse outer portion. This doesn't have the what looks like the striated columns coming up a coral trunk, so to speak. It doesn't have the hexagon area, the little hexagons in it. It looks like a piece of rock that so many times we've just seen along the beach, right? Look at that. Well, let me show you what you might have been stepping over if you've been around the Tampa Bay area. Look at the interior of that. Look at that jewel. Now, this is the good stuff. And so this is chalcedony, all right? So this is chalcedony. And the neat thing about this, if you are a fluorescent mineral collector, you are going to enjoy it because it has some beautiful, beautiful fluorescence, bright chartreuse fluorescence, which usually will form right along the rim, right along the rim. And then you can see some wonderful banding. You can see, look at the drusies. There is Harry's butthole right there that he keeps thinking about. And then the alternate side. What a fantastic and very unique specimen for the fact that it's not one that looks like coral. It doesn't take on so many of the looks that other coral pieces do that look like coral. This one looks like a rock I've stepped over many times, which now I have regrets because I grew up younger on the beach in Florida before rock hunting really hit me. All right, look at that. Look at that. Of course, any of these you could put in aquariums and clean back up with no problem afterwards. Your price on this one, that's the other excellent value for you on this piece. I am going to make the pair. You get both halves for only $48. $48. And remember, when you have this kind of quality on the interior, and remember these are also polished. They also have been put on a flat lap, and you have that wonderful polish to them. Beautiful, beautiful druzy, and a fluorescent nature. You have a second pocket here, adding to, there we go, there's the flash for the polish. Adding to the aesthetics of it. $48. Excellent deal. Now, the goods keep on coming. Let me show you. Item number 1065022. 1065022. Got this one off of Raven's side, but she has a couple others, believe me. Look at this. Look at this. Peruvian quartz Spallorite with pyrite and calcopyrite. Let me give you the tour. As we come in on it, you can see it's a cabinet-sized specimen. All right, look at that from the angle. Look at all that going on. Now, if you noticed, starting off right here, here is a band of Sphalerite. Look at that. That is Sphalerite going all along there. Now, Sphalerite can take on that kind of orangish or be transparent, translucent, or orange color. You know, you can facet it if you're good, and even wear faceted Sphalerite if you're a brave stone setter or have a brave jeweler. Other than that, Sphalerite can also be black and opaque. And there's one along here. Let me show you. I first thought it was a tetrahedrite group, which can form with these, but then closer inspection, here it is, told me it is a Sphalerite. As we look at this, here is, some of the, translucent Sphalerite. But this crystal right here is your classic dark, opaque Spallorite crystal. So if you want to know what one looks like, here is a good one to use in this particular piece. Let's take you, look at this little pocket of crystals. Let's take you right down into these for a moment. This is where the fun can be, when you look and see how far back that crisscrossing of crystals go. There's the closer up of the Sphalerite I wanted to show you in the black crystal form right there. Now, look at these other metallic crystals. What are they? First person might want to say, oh, they're pyrite. Are there any cubes to them? Not if they look like that. But if they look like that, and they don't have to be brassy color, they don't have to be iridescent, they can even be these darker crystals that have oxidation on them, like this. They're Calcopyrites. They're Calcopyrites. Now let me show you. You have to learn the difference between Calcopyrite and pyrite by way of the crystal form. There's also pyrites, and the pyrites you're going to find have strong striations on them. There you go, there's one right there, and look, it is in a rectangular or square form. That's a perfect example to use right there. So pyrite, Calcopyrite. Oh, here. Yeah, that's perfect, because right there you can actually see some iridescence, and you can actually see through some of the oxidation on the surface to see some of the brassy color. There we go. See that iridescence right there on that? Telling you also that that is a Calcopyrite, and there's a pyrite. Look at these beautiful quartz, intermingled. And if you look probably closer and did a lot of studying, look at the back of this. You're going to find some other ore minerals. You just are bound to. They're in here. They're in here. So the back of this, as we come away from it, you're going to see has all kinds of bands of mineralization. This piece, a lot of fun. If you actually took a diamond saw and took a slice off of here, you're probably going to open up additional cavities that will have little pockets. Like, let's look in right here. Right there. Look at that. Wow, look at that. What a beautiful pocket of crystals. And they're all over like that. I mean, if I found even a little rock with a pocket of crystals like that in a North Georgia hillside or something, I would just go crazy. That would be a big find. Look at that. There's a big piece of Sphalerite right up there. Lots of exploration and discovery. And I have this at a price that will allow you to have a whole lot of fun going on. At only $48. Only $48. Big look for not a lot of money. Now, let me show you, as you hear me crinkling this because I have it wrapped up well, this is item number 1063622. 1063622. Okay, this is a set of two, so you get both of them. Now, I took these slices off of another piece, and they came out very close and similar to each other. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to keep these together because, let me show you one at a time, because they make great mineral. Look at this. All right, first let me show you. Yep, look at that. Look at that purple labradorite in there. Look at that blue eye of labradorite. Not eye of new, eye of labradorite. And the purple color alone, oh my, adds a tremendous value. It's the rarest color in labradorite and is desired in whether it's labradorite or any other of, look at that. Look at that, look at that with that formation. So now, with that color coming through there, yeah, spectralite and spectralite as well. Purple, very desirable. Spectralite, of course, being, look at that. Look at how beautiful that is. All right, now, I made these, so if you wanted, you could do one of my little spray polishes with an enamel or acrylic spray or something like that. Color in labradorite is often just found lamellarly, in other words, in the layers that you see it in, and often will be found all the way through it on one side. There other times you get these little areas like that. Look at that coming right through here, and this doesn't even have a polish. If you put a little spray polish on it, if you even just put some oil on it, it would greatly brighten it up. And as we look at the other side of it, let's see if there's much color coming all the way through or not. So it's got a nice front side to it to use, because my whole intent on this was as a base for a mineral display. Look at that. See what I'm talking about? What a difference. What a difference. And even if the angle's not right, depending on where direction your light is coming from, you can still see this quite well. Let me flip this over. Wow, look at that. Bookends was the other item. To use these as bookends, or I'm thinking of another word, I don't know, end caps. End caps to a display or books as well. So you can display it depending on which way the light will enter and bring out those colors best for you. All right, so that's one of them. The other one is pretty much identical because they were one slice after the other. Look at that. Look at those two. If you did nothing but took slices off of it this way and cut stones out of it, you'd have some of the best cutting material that there is, because of the purple and because of that very attractive display of the striations. I think that's about how it went right there. Yeah, look at that coming. Look at that. My. So, use them as you wish. But again, my thought was how you couldn't have a much better stand for a display for a mineral specimen than using a beautiful slice of labradorite. Price for both of these, for both, only $48. Only $48, and you get both of them. All right, give me a moment. Let me pick up and put some of these away. Okay, so Miss Peggy was interested in some of the Fogarites, and that's no problem, because all anybody has to do, since they've been in the backdrop, we haven't shown them, is make a request. And we'll show a few. Now, these all have the same item number, so you can't specifically say which one you'll get, but out of the ones we have, I'm only going to pull what I think are the better ones of them. So you'll get one of the, Shawn picks, and this is one of them. Now, here's the story. These were collected in the 1980s from sifting shakers of a mine producing fine sand building materials. And this is from Polk County, Florida. What it was one guy. One guy knew what these were. And for years, he was the one that was operating the sifting machine. And as these were sifted out of the sand that they would, use to bag up, that you buy at the, home stores or for play sand, all these other uses for sand. And so it had to be sifted out of all other, sticks, rocks, anything else. And one of the things was, after, of course, eons of time, there were Fogarites, which of course is the name given to the fusion of sand by a lightning bolt, which is upwards of 50,000 volts and is no wider than the width of a pencil. So those lightning bolts that you see across the sky, wow, they look like feet across, right? No. It's because they're putting off that much energy and light is why they look so big. The reality is they are no wider than the width of what you see right down through the middle. So the heat, as hot as that lightning bolt is, it doesn't fuse the ground for inches around the strike point. It only fuses just the direct area around the lightning bolt. And when it does, it will actually create glass, and that's visible on the inside of the tubes. On the outside, it's kind of where the sand looks like it's just kind of fused to it. It's not a melted look. But on the inside, where the highest temperatures were, that's where it does give you that glass look. So this is one of them that I really like, that we'll include in the choices. And then depending on the color sand that they hit, and believe me, I have gone and I've seen lightning hit trees, go down a tree, know exactly what tree it is, and I go and I try to find me a Fogarite in the red Georgia clay, which is north of the fall line, which Dave and I were just talking about. You get a different kind of less sandy type of soil, so you do not find Fogarites in clay. If there was, it would create pottery. Here's another really good one. When you can see straight through it, I like those, even though Fogarites have been known to be quite extensive and many different other odd shapes. See this? There you go. Here's what I'm talking about. See that reflection, that glass-like? Oh, there we go. We can see on the inside of it as well, where it fuses it into a glass type of form. This is another one of my picks. Price on these, I have them discounted. Made a great buy on them a number of years ago, and I just hang on to them because once they're gone, they're gone. But I think I have, $21 each. $21 each. And I'll just pick a third one. Should cover anybody who's wanting one, and all three of these are great choices. They have, you'll get the box and the front little label there and the back information. And here is the third one. And again, you have a really nice shininess to them, showing the glass nature. And you have to have a really nice high quality sand for them to be able to do that. So any one of them, or get all three of them if you want. And if we sell these out, then I'll show a few more next time around. All right, so those are your Fogarite requests that you wanted. I'll leave those there. I'm going to put these others up so I don't confuse one with the other. Now, last week I showcased a very cool piece of tourmaline. Let's look at item 1059922. 1059922. Here is another one, kind of similar, yet different. Look at that. Look at that. Now remember last week's, it was taller and it had where it went from the pink tourmaline into the white color, so it was like bicolor. This one just has some wonderful, wonderful pink tourmaline crystals. And as we look at it closer, you'll be able to see some of these are quite crystalline, And then you can see that some, look at some of these. Where are they? They are in the middle of that quartz. And some, look at that, looks quite gemmy. Look at these others. Here's the ones at the edge coming up to the top. Some of them looking really, really nice, really good color. So here's other ones scattered throughout. Wow. This is, again, would be really fun if you wanted to saw it in different directions to create some different looks. You could certainly do that. And I am going to sale price this one even less than the old sale price. So how about that? A double sale price. I'm going to make that one only $38. Only $38 on that. A excellent value. $38. When you think in the mineral specimens, world, if you haven't been to shows or been to places where you see these things, $38 doesn't normally get you much of anything. But in this case, at Gem Collectors with Shawn, it most certainly will get you a lot of look for the money. Now, I have over here, let me show you, 106 50 22, 106 50 22, and this piece, this is a real collector's piece, and I'm quite surprised I have it still available. Let's take a look. Wow, this is stunning. Since we were speaking about rhodochrosite last week, let me show you a stunning example of a piece of rhodochrosite. Look at that, Peruvian rhodochrosite. When I was looking up the Peruvian quartz piece, I was just stunned by some of the beautiful, beautiful combinations of rhodochrosite and quartz from Peru. These, look at these. These are like little rosettes, the way the rhodochrosite has formed. Like little, well, rosettes, little tiny flowers. Look at the quartz crystals popping up amongst them. And it is that really, really soft baby pink color. I mean, wow. What a, I don't know, it's just really, to me, such a nice feminine color. But as a mineral specimen, I'll own it in a heartbeat. There's no feminine to it. It's just drop dead gorgeous. This piece is really unique. It's from the Huron mine in the Pasco, Peru, which other specimens, of course, have come from the same mine that I've offered you and haven't had rhodochrosite. Rhodochrosite is actually rare to find. So in the description I have in here for you, rare shape, referring to these little formations of the rhodochrosite and how they have grown in the form that they have. And let me see something here. Let me get out of my magic pockets, which hold all kinds of stuff. They were teasing me about my pocket and asking me if I had pocket protector as well. That's one thing. I always had things in my pockets, like flashlights and whatnot, but you know what? If a pen was gonna leak, it was gonna leak. I was not gonna wear a pocket protector. I was already a big enough nerd. All right, let me just look and see if I can show you a little closer in on those formations. Look at that. Look at that. What wonderful, wonderful forms that Mother Nature does compared to the other rhodochrosites that we see and the forms that they take. Look at those quartz crystals. This is, see one of these little doodads I have? This is what you need. to just have so much fun sitting in your comfy chair with a specimens that you choose to take, you know, for the day that you want to look at these, say for the evening, and just spend all your time focused on just those, because there's so much you can see. Okay, look at the termination of that particular quartz. Wow, Dave, how'd you do that? Well, I'll throw my little thing away, but shooting right through my gizmo really gives you an inside look. You know what? If I see any of these quartz crystals actually pink due to the coloration from the rhodochrosite, then wow, that adds a tremendous amount of value. Pink quartz versus rose quartz. I define the two in that respect, that pink quartz is quartz that is pink and crystallizes. Rose quartz, as you know, can be rose but does not form in crystal patterns. Look at that. Anyway, I could go over that all day. So what you were looking at, look at that, was just a small portion of that. Look at that piece. Okay, there should be no discount on this at all, but I'm going to put one small sale price to it, $118. I'm making it $118. It's not going to be less than that. That's a rare goodie indeed. Wow, our time has run out, and I do not know where it went. But we had some great stuff to cover, so let me end with the really the showstopper, because it is item number 1065522. 1065522. I have had this stone for quite some time, but it needed a couple chips polished out and a couple other areas cleaned up. I am getting ready to show you a gemstone you have not seen in some time. This is called Imperial Hessinite Garnet. And Imperial Hessinite, of course, let me show you. You get it in the, look at that. You can see the relative size of that. Look at that. Imperial, you know why it's called that. The color being so similar to Imperial topaz. This Hessinite garnet is a type of grossular garnet. And it is got its name from the Greek word Hessin, for being inferior. Yes, they gave it that name and said it was inferior for its lower hardness, which is still a hardness of 7.5, so I don't know where they get that. A lower density, but what I found compared to the other garnets was actually a little bit lower refractive index, is what they might have been referring to, because there's not much inferior to it. It is beautiful, 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 beautiful garnet. So they said it was those lower, compared to the other garnets. The orange color in this is due, since now you're understanding about valences from the Mn2 plus magnetic manganese versus just plain manganese that isn't. This gets its color from Fe3 plus, so iron. An iron impurity. Look at that. In the world of garnets, garnets often have little small inclusions in them, and this one has very, very few. It's a very clean stone. Look at the cut. I wish I could say that I cut this one, because I really like the cut. There is brilliance throughout the entire stone. Look at that. Look at that. And I'll even lift this so you can actually see color. And that deserves definitely, in the world of Imperial garnets, that's a very strong Imperial. I've seen a lot of lighter color garnets called Imperial Hessinite garnet, and it really shouldn't be because the color is too light. Remember Hessinite being a grossular, it's a calcium aluminum silicate oxygen garnet, so it is one of the calcium garnets that we talked about last week. Price on this, I have it for only, and I was looking at what they're asking for these, which is like, I have this one for $128. It's only $19 a carat, $128. $128 on that. That, it would be buying a quarter for a nickel, quarter for a dime, anywhere in that range. An excellent value and an incredibly well cut stone. All right, we're gonna have to end it on that one. We'll be right back with the trivia. Okay, so I hope all of you enjoyed that, and I did. We had a lot of unusual items. Didn't get to all the items I wanted to. We had some items that, of course, some of the nicer, more unusual things take a little bit more time to talk about and explain. So we'll make up for it. We'll get some more items to you that I didn't get to today. Just makes for more next time. And one of the reasons is when I don't have the Raven here to help organize and keep things bagged, it's real easy. You know, it's not like making hamburgers on a hamburger line. You mess one up, you just throw it in the trash, or you drop one. Can't do any of that here. So kind of have to have things a little bit organized, and you have to kind of stop along the way to do that. So that kind of loses time. But I think I made up for it with some even to me, some quite unique pieces today. So hopefully you'll take advantage of them. Or I'll put them back in my collection. Now, one of the things I actually also wanted to show, and I probably won't get a chance to bring it back in, but I want to show how a stone is transferred on a dop. So I could just show this from a distance that you see. There's this little, this is actually Miss Elisa wanting that pear-shaped axonite. So I've gotten to the point where I'm transferring it on the dop from one side to the other. So we have the pavilion cut, right? So we use this transfer jig is what they call it, and it lines up these two dops, the word for these, and then so I apply epoxy, which the old schoolers, and I'm going to show you some stones next week, I didn't get a chance to today, some tiny stones, they use wax. And originally when I first started doing it, I used wax too, but I found that 2-part 5-minute epoxy works really actually quite well for me because I can remove it with heat quickly, but carefully, and it just, well, for me, it is a safer way to adhere a stone without taking the risk of it popping off the dot, which happens to all gem cutters at one point or another. And once you lose that alignment, it's kind of difficult, depending on the cut of the stone, to get it lined back up. So the whole idea of this transfer jig is to get that alignment back in the same place when you're moving it from cutting the top. Some people cut the top first, others cut the bottom first. It's kind of unusual that it depends on what you're comfortable with or the stone. But the instructional guides actually, some say to start with a crown, others say to start with a pavilion. I personally, depends on the individual stone I'm working with and the cleavage of it, the dichroic nature of the color coming through it, and just many things on what I'm how I want to create the flow of the stone as to which end I cut first. So on the axonite, I cut the crown first and am transferring it then, and so I'll remove the dop that's attached to the pavilion, what would be the bottom part, so that I can transfer it, so that I can then cut that portion. And yeah, So that's how it's done. Okay. We had some neat items. Last week's questions were too easy. Let's see if I made them any harder today. All right. So you can use your notes, but no fast forwarding or rewinding. All right, here we are. Ready? What is the impurity in Hessinite garnet that gives it its color? What is the impurity in Hessinite garnet that gives it its color? Second question, what two rare earth elements are present and make tantalite a desirable mineral to extract these rare earth elements from? So, out of its chemical makeup and structure, there are what are considered rare earth elements, two elements present, and I talked about them, that make it a mineral that is sought after for those two particular ones. And there you go. Good luck to all of you. I hope my week goes well, as I do yours also. God bless all of you. Thank you so much for your always continued kind words and support. And yeah, prayers to all of you. And I hope that this summer isn't too hot for all of us. God bless, take care, and see you next week.